Good morning and happy Friday. Today we are going to be going over the May 22nd portion of the distance learning packet where we're going to have some reading, and again you're going to read for 15 minutes either in those books of your own or those online resources or those foldable books in the back of the packet. We're going to revisit the text from Pine Tree to Pizza Box where you're going to reread the conclusion together. Then you're going to explain why recycling cardboard is important. So discuss with your student what the importance of recycling is, what the benefits are, and why it's important for our environment. Which is going to tie into our writing today, where you're going to have a writing prompt. It's an opinion piece. So you're going to talk about why recycling cardboard is important, and you're going to support your answer with at least 3 reasons. So you're going to tell what your opinion is, and then you're going to give that evidence to back up your opinion. For grammar and spelling, we're going to have a schwa spelling sort. And then we're going to have a little bit of math continuing with that multi-digit subtraction. So let's go ahead and get started. After you've read for 15 minutes, you're going to revisit this story, focusing on why recycling is important, and discuss that with either your parent or a sibling. Talk about the importance of recycling. And then that is going to take us into writing, and our writing prompt is, why is recycling cardboard important? Support your answer with at least 3 reasons. This is an opinion piece because you're telling why, in your opinion, you think recycling is important. So your answer might be different from somebody else's. I've given you a few sentence starters and then some transitional sentence starters here to help you with that. So to get started, recycling cardboard is important because, so this is going to be your sentence starter, and you're going to put why you think it's important. And then you're going to come up with 3 reasons. And again, these transitional phrases, you can use mine or you can use other ones as well. And then you're going to give the first reason why, you're going to give another reason why you think it's important, and you're going to give that last reason why. And then I gave you a conclusion here where we're going to kind of restate that topic sentence using different words, but again we're just changing the words a little bit. There are many reasons why recycling cardboard is important, so that would be your conclusion. And if you use this outline and fill in all the blanks, that's going to give you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 really good sentences, which builds a really good paragraph. Okay, and then finishing up writing, we're going to move on to that schwa spelling sort. I've kind of completed this for the sake of time, but I will go over what those spelling words and those sounds are so that you understand how the words were sorted. So we need to write the correct spelling words sorted on the lines based on their sound. Spelling words that have that long O sound. Well, whenever a word has a long vowel sound, it makes the sound of that letter. So a long O sound gives that O sound. So that's how I came up with alone and ago. They both make that long O sound. And then moving on to our next category, we have spelling words with a long A sound. And again, whenever you have a vowel that makes that long sound, it's making the sound of the letter. So you're going to hear that A sound in there because that's a long A sound. So here we have away and awake. Did you hear that long A sound in there? And then the next category, it's looking for the long I sound, which again, any long vowel sound, it makes the sound of the letter. So I, we're looking for the word that has that I sound. And that's how I came up with alike. And hopefully you heard that long I sound in there. And then the last category wanted us to put the spelling words that begin with the schwa but do not have a long vowel sound. So these were the words that were left. And again, they have that, they begin with that schwa, which is that sound, where we have again, about, above, along, ahead. Noticing that schwa at the beginning, but again, they did not have a long vowel sound. So that's what separated them into this category. And then for 11 and 12, you're going to choose a spelling word that is an antonym. And if you remember, an antonym is the opposite of a word. A synonym is going to mean the same thing as the word, but an antonym, we're looking for the opposite. So if you look at asleep, you're going to come up here to your spelling words and find a word that is the opposite of asleep. And I think awake is going to be the opposite of asleep. So that's going to be the best fit there. And then for number 12, we're looking for the opposite of below. So the opposite of below is going to be above. And that's the antonym of below, above. And that is it for our spelling sort today. Again, we focused on the schwa and then those long vowel sounds. So now we're going to move on to math, where we're going to start with a math task, and we have a word problem. Lucy went to basketball camp. 325 second graders and 234 first graders were there. How many more second graders were at camp? Well, when they're asking for how many more second graders were there, we know we're going to need to subtract the first graders to figure out that difference. And that's going to tell us how many more second graders were there. So let's go ahead and get started. Following those 3 steps where we always start with the ones column, I lined up my numbers here based on place value. And let's go ahead and get started. We have 5 minus 4. If you have 5 of something, can you take 4 away? You can, because 5 is greater than 4, and that is leaving us with 1. Now moving next door to step 2, where we're going to focus on that tens column. We have 2 minus 3. Well, if you have 2 of something, you can't take 3 away because we don't have enough, so we are going to borrow from our neighbor, where that 3 is going to become a 2, and then that 2 is going to become a 12. Okay, let's see here. Crossing out that 2. Okay, so now we can focus on subtracting 3 from 12. If you have 12 of something and you take 3 away, we are left with 9. And then moving on to that hundreds column where you have 2 of something and you're taking 2 away, which we are left with 0. That just kind of cancels itself out. So we know there are 91 more second graders than there are first graders at that basketball camp. So the difference of 325 and 234 is 91. Moving on to our next slide, where we're going to go over some more procedural practice, and this is just kind of walking you through the steps. Starting with step 1. Oh, I'm sorry, we're finding the difference of 539 and 285. Step 1, we're going to subtract the ones. We always subtract the ones. There we have 9 minus 5. 9 is greater than 5, so we know we can make that happen. 9 minus 5 is 4. Moving on to step 2, we're going to subtract the tens. You cannot subtract 8 from 3 because you don't have enough, so we need to regroup 100s as 10. So that's where you're borrowing from next door. The 5 becomes a 4, and the 3 becomes a 13. Now you can subtract 13 minus 8 is 5. And then step 3, you're going to subtract the hundreds. We have 4 minus 2 is 2. So we know the difference of 539 and 285 is 254. All right, I'm going to go over 1 and 2 with you today for a little bit of practice, and I'm going to want you to try 3 and 4 on your own. So let's go ahead and get started. In number 1, we are looking for the difference of 568 and 197. Remember, following those 3 steps where we always start with the ones column, and we know our equation here is lined up based on the place value. Ones lined up with ones, tens lined up with tens, hundreds lined up with hundreds. All right, starting with step 1. 8 minus 7, if you have 8 of something and you take 7 away, you know you have 1 left. So that is completing step 1. Let's go ahead to step 2 and focus on the tens column. If you have 6 of something, can you take 9 away? No, you can't, because 6 is less than 9. So we know we are going to need to regroup and borrow from our neighbor, where that 5 is going to become a 4 because we're borrowing. And then that 6 is going to become a 16. So now we need to subtract 16 minus 9. If you put 9 in your head and use your fingers to count up, stopping when we get to 16, that's going to give us a difference. Put 9 in your head. Are you ready? Let's go. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, stop. You should have 7 fingers held up because that is the difference. Okay, that is completing step 2. Moving on to step 3, which is our hundreds. We have 4 and we need to take 1 away. 4 minus 1 is 3. So we know the difference of 568 and 197 is 371. Let's go ahead and try one more for some practice, where we're going to look for the difference of 628 and 442. Again, following those 3 steps where we're going to start with our ones column. We have 8 minus 2. 8 is greater than 2, so we know we do not need to borrow from next door. If you have 8 of something and you take 2 away, you are left with 6. Moving on to step 2, which is focusing on our tens column. If you have 2 of something, can you take 4 away? You cannot, because 2 is less than 4, so we need to regroup, where we're going to borrow from our hundreds, where our 6 becomes a 5 and our 2 becomes a 12. Now we can subtract 12 from 4. So if you put 4 in your head and you count on your fingers up to 12, or count on your fingers stopping at 12, that will tell us the difference. So put 4 in your head, and then we count 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, stop. You should have 8 fingers held up, because that is the difference between that is the difference of 12 minus 4. And moving on to that third and final step, remembering we crossed out the 6, so we are no longer going to use that because this is a 5 now. And we have 5 minus 4. If you have 5 of something and you take 4 away, you are left with 1. So we know the difference of 628 minus 442 is 186. I hope you all had a wonderful week and you have a great weekend. That is all we have for today, because I do want you to try number 3 and number 4 on your own. Let me know if you have any questions. Otherwise, we will see you Monday. Have a great weekend. Goodbye.